And now a breakaway opportunity for the Gophers just a minute into the season. And Minnesota strikes 30 seconds in. The Golden Gophers get a tally from who else? Abby Murphy. Top 10 matchup on our hands here in Storrs, Connecticut, and we're ready to take the top off of this one. It begins the season as UConn wants to build on those banners, and here tonight, Abby Murphy certainly going to be a factor. She was a Patty Kazmaier Award semifinalist a year ago. 62 points on the season for UConn, their first team All-Hockey East performer. Jada Habish, grad student from Buffalo, Minnesota. A little home cooking for the Minnesota native as she takes on the Golden Gophers, not just here tonight, but tomorrow as well. UConn's in the home white. It's Minnesota in the maroon and gold, and we are underway. The 2024-25 season has begun.
And for UConn, they kicked things off last weekend. Exhibition matchup against Quinnipiac Huskies on the positive side of that, a 2-1 overtime win. Minnesota, no exhibition, so they're coming right into this 2024 campaign.
Behind the net for the Huskies, it's a trio of Allard, Grimley, and Habish, and now a breakaway opportunity for the Gophers just a minute into the season. And Minnesota strikes 30 seconds in. The Golden Gophers get a tally from who else? Abby Murphy.
They left Murphy on watch. She streaked away on that far side of the ice, and there's only one defender back for UConn, and they let Murphy slip behind. 33 goals last year, and only 30 seconds in, she's got one on this campaign. Just silky smooth, forehand to backhand. Tia Chan with that stick a little bit too high as it slips through the wickets.
A charmed start on the road, and a little tongue-in-cheek by Chris McKenzie, UConn's coach, was asked in the preseason media scrum, what do you think about starting with the number 2 team in the country? He said, we'll let you know 5 minutes in. A little humor from UConn's head coach, but certainly not the first 5 minutes of the season that he had hoped for.
It was just a defensive lapse in the neutral zone as they only left one man back as Josefovic takes it in.
She immediately gets pushed off the puck as UConn goes for a change, so it was 1-on-5 for the Huskies. A zone entry for Minnesota. This is Ava Lindsay. The Huskies, such a strong defensive team a year ago. It was the calling card. It was the reason that they were able to make an NCAA tournament for the first time in program history. But out in Minnesota, the Gophers put up 8 goals in 2 games and a couple of wins against UConn. And that was the light switch moment where UConn turned things around and they were able to get their footing under them the rest of the season, and a little bit of a wake-up call here early. For the Gophers, slap shot in the zone goes through Audrey Wethington. This is O'Hara now. She drops for Kaiser. Pass to Wethington, exits the zone.
And Minnesota, looks like they were the ones that played last week and got their feet under them in an exhibition matchup. They are the quicker start, almost 3 minutes in, and they look for more.
Backhanded chance, and another score. Minnesota has struck for a pair of goals, not even 3 minutes in.
And if you're Chris McKenzie, maybe not right now, you take the timeout, but if this play continues, the next stoppage, you're thinking about calling that timeout. Tia Chan, a little too loose behind the net, getting walked up on the wall there was Maya Serdachny. Too much puck watching, and that's how both goals have been starting. Too much puck watching for the UConn defense. First one, they get a breakaway slipping behind the defense, and that one, just letting the forward walk right off the wall, 2-0.
Emma Kreis, 6 goals in her freshman campaign. And for Minnesota, looking to replace, obviously as all teams do, replacing the talent that exits the program and looking to build on the players that had solid freshman years. And for Kreis, she certainly answered the bell early here in this campaign. More from the Golden Gophers. For UConn, that's one of the freshmen along the near boards. A look at Sadie Hotless. She heads to the bench as UConn dumps it in. Livy Dewar sends it around the boards.
It was Emma Kreis and Ava Lindsay, both freshmen last year for the Golden Gophers, who were on the NCAA Rookie of the Year watch list. And which Kreis, also the first player in program history from Hungary, as it's a quick 2-0 lead and UConn doesn't know what hit them. Let's take a look at the starters.
Tia Chan, just over 1 goal per game a year ago, and suddenly she finds herself and the UConn Huskies staring at an early 2 spot from the number 2 team in the country.
And what we saw from UConn against Quinnipiac in their exhibition matchup last weekend was slow starts in each of the 3 periods. They kind of got their feet under them as the periods went on. We're able to keep Quinnipiac at bay. Much different story now. Hot start for the Golden Gophers, 2-0 lead.
Yeah, able to absorb an early flurry in the exhibition game and keep the Bobcats off the board. And Quinnipiac, the number 10 team in the country, so certainly a worthy opponent, but the Gophers have come out swinging on the road. They are a team that wants to assert itself as one of the best teams in the country just from the jump. Another icing. Keep some tired legs on the ice for Minnesota, as the first 2 shots of the season have found the back of the net for Minnesota and given Skylar Vetter a nice cushion.
Yeah, Skylar Vetter, 12-7-2 last year. She was kind of like a 1A, 1B situation with Lucy Morgan for the Golden Gophers. Lucy Morgan was 15-3 last year, but now Lucy Morgan graduating. It's Skylar Vetter's net pretty much for now. You got some good options in the number 2, number 3 spots, but right now it looks like it's Vetter's goal for the foreseeable future.
The other 2 goalies in play for Minnesota, Hannah Clark, she's a freshman. Sophia Johnson has not played yet in her career as a junior, so all 75 games of experience coming in net for Minnesota belong to Vetter. We got a penalty, and this is a delayed call against the Huskies. Huber down the left side, sent in front. It sends Chan spinning, and a touch-up by UConn will give them a chance to exhale, but it will put Minnesota on the power play.
And when these 2 teams linked up last year, it was a clean sweep for Minnesota. The Golden Gophers were 2 for 3 on the power play. Both these teams don't take a lot of penalties, but when the penalties were taken last year, it was a 2 for 3 power play. And as the Golden Gophers overall in last year, 35.6% on the power play. Fantastic special teams unit.
Kyla Josephovic, a junior from Ontario, hits the box. And so UConn down 2-0 and needing, against all else, a penalty kill here to just keep this within shouting distance. Minnesota wants to keep building. Morrow rips one high and wide. Natalie Malinkova in the high slot. Her attempt is bothered to the backboards. Primorano, the freshman. Another blown tire there on Kreis's drive. She's got one of the 2 early goals for the Gophers. Just 45 seconds in, Primorano, a 17-year-old, already on the top power play unit for the Golden Gophers. Figures to be one of the leading candidates for Freshman of the Year in the country. Here's Primorano, and she scores! The freshman phenom, Primorano, wastes little time. She begins her career with an ear-to-ear smile and a 3-0 lead.